We have an enemy. The show has an enemy. Yeah. We have an angry bird living outside of our flat here. Pre-recorded. Live before studio audience of stuffed animals. It's the Comics Coffee Table. Hi. No, there's an angry bird out there. I think it's your fault. I think it's your fault, Pika. I think that, you know, the bird looks at you all day. You look at the bird all day, somewhat challenging its authority of territoriality. It pooped on the window, I swear. I mean, there's like, there's a splatter of bird poop on my window through the screen as well. And I'm like, and I think that the bird maybe even flew over here and tried to poop on you. I swear. I'm not making this up. There's an angry bird. He's part of the show now. Oh, here, open up the window more. So you can hear him. Or her. I don't want to misgender the bird. Oh, that's a hot spot over there. That's sunlight. Hi. Welcome to the Comics Coffee Table. And bona fide angry bird. Hey, let's do this. Let's do this rip off right. Hello. It's Boston fake Cecil pirating Sully's TV show. I'm kidding. I love Cecil. Cecil is life. Cecil is love. Back cash grab. What is cash grab? Well, we can talk a little about cash grab a little later here on our Comics Coffee Table. I got cash grab. It came in the mail. Yeah, I got cash grab before I got a date this year. That's just waka waka waka. Hey, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern daily. We talk about comic books. It's Wednesday. It's New Comic Book Day. So we are probably doing this right now. It's 3 p.m. U.S. Well, it's actually, it's 3:03. I'm getting out of the subway, breathing air, fresh air, fresh air. Oh, the subway just takes so forever. And I'm entering my local comic book shop with you here in the live chat. I love checking out the live chat. If I'm able to, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern daily, we have a really robust live chat. And it's really fun to see everyone. And we continue this comic book shop style conversation daily, 3 p.m. We take a break we take a coffee break. We take our minds off of our minds, as I like to say. We leave the real world's problems over there. We pull up a chair over here. I love Cecil, but I don't want to, steal his whole thing. This is a reference, not a ripoff. Plus, last time I cosplayed as Cecil, the last con I went to, and so many milfs tried to get me for back child support payments. I mean, it's just not worth it. Because I'm pitch perfect, and I can just I can pull it off, and just, the smoldering masculinity, the inquisitiveness, the alcoholism. Yeah, Cecil's a real funny YouTube phenomenon. Yes, and I'm glad that he follows me. I follow him. I watch the Jack Show. I watch Tuesdays with Cecil, and it's just fun. It's not for everyone. It's ribald, dirty-minded humor, but that's where the ribald, dirty-minded humor went. It's not on the mainstream anymore. It's in the it's way off Broadway. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, how are you today? Let's see. I'm gonna talk to the cameraman here. Is it too shiny here? Will that help? No, that's not helping. That cut down the glare? Sure, Pika. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It's New Comic Book Day. I'm probably selecting my new comic books off the shelves, and we're talking about our picks this week. My new release rundown is every Sunday, and we usually talk about old comic books all week long. We're reboarding, rebagging, reboxing my entire collection. Along the way, I'm getting a handle on grading and what they're worth. You know, ever look at your comic book collection and wonder, hey, how much is this stuff really worth? Well, you too can find out. Seriously, there are links in the description to both of these Amazon pages where you can get your own copies and you can play along at home and you can evaluate your comic book collection too. The Overstreet comic book price guide, this is really good. I mean, second year I've got it. I'm going to keep getting it every year from now on. It's really good information. This is the Overstreet Guide to Grading Comics. This will define the standard 10-point rating scale that you see. That's what comic books are rated on. I'm just new to this part of my hobby, and it's really awesome way to, you know, show some love for my collection too. So I'm getting my head around grading and the price guide too. It's like, wow, first appearance of the third Blue Beetle. This is worth $35. Really? Okay, that's cool. But only if it was at a 9.2. What is a 9.2? Hey, okay, sure, let's look it up. That's the 9.2. So your comic book has to be this good in order to get top dollar from this book. And yeah, let's look at that. Oh, Ultimate Spider-Man. Are we talking about Ultimate Spider-Man today? No, we're doing something else. We will talk about Ultimate Spider-Man. We have to. It's imperative. All right. Nearly perfect with only a minor additional defect or defects that keep it from near mint. So this is near mint minus a 9.2. Yeah, that's our friend. You hear him? I do. And see everything on the top shelf there, near mint minus, that's 9.2. And that's where the top value for that comic book is going to be. Then come like those top tier grading things, getting into slabs. The only slab I care about is my favorite decoration, Captain Solo. Oh, 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 oh. You weak-minded simpleton, he's using a Jedi mind trick on you. How are we doing today? We are, let's see, what am I doing today? I have a Wayback Machine. What? You have a piece of fluff? You gotta tell me these things. I mean, what is it? Is it moving? Is that what the bird is trying to warn me about? That what? Who's behind me? It's you, too. The bird's trying to warn me about the fluff ball that's on your shirt, Sully. You're only on TV. I found this in one of the long boxes. It's an old composition book filled with words scribbled down by yours truly. At least this one starts. I'll show you. December 16th, 2004. Yeah. Where was I? Who was I? What was I doing? I was in knee deep in coming back to comic books. I had come back to comics in the summer of 2001 after a few years hiatus. About almost 6 years, I believe. 5 or 6 years I took off comic books. So I literally did miss out on Nightfall, Bane, Azrael, Electric Blue and Electric Red Superman, and a lot of the Kyle Rayner stuff, and a lot of the Wally West stuff. I read Wally West, like, I read his volume twice when I came back, because that was like a good place to pick up at the ongoing as well. And because I read that, I've been an off and on reader of that for like all my life. But there was a chunk of time that I wasn't buying, but I did go to comic book stores and just checked in, and you know, it's like walking into a toy store for me as well. Like, I'm not gonna buy toys, you know. It says, well, that was then. This is This is recent. This is like my second childhood, I guess. And but yeah, I had a blog, and I used to write the comics talk. What else? The comics gnome. Oh, that's right, the comics gnome. The comics gnome was my old blog, and please don't. I deleted my blog back in 2017 when I could smell that culture changed. I not. Hey, Mr. Grant Gregory and I got into an interesting conversation about this on Ginger Ninja's channel a few weeks ago, and he's saying you're letting people who would censor people win by censoring your own stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but also, I mean, I say a lot of dopey shit in the internet, and I'm trying to curate that more, and I felt it was just better. You know, especially, too, being a single man in the 21st century, the first thing a woman of my age is going to do is Google you. And that's it. I'm going to be judged on the goofy shit I say. And that was probably the second biggest reason. The first biggest reason was the whole change in culture. And I said, I feel like I'm Christ giving the Romans the nails with this blog. This beloved blog. I talk about hockey. Yeah, the smoking puck. You know, look, I'm a Willie Nelson fan. You know what I mean? Yeah, the smoking puck. You know, that was... I spent a lot of time and effort in hunting down links and coding links, you know, caret, image equals, you know, link, close caret, slash, and, you know what I'm talking about. Tags. You know, so I did, yeah, the comics gnome. The comics gnome would have a sack of funny books over his shoulder and leave them every Wednesday on our coffee table. Hence this comics coffee table. And that came from having like a lawn gnome at my grandpa's house. There was a lawn gnome on the front porch. You know, it wasn't on the lawn, it would get stolen. He lived in Dorchester. You know, it's a rough neighborhood there. Up in St. Peter's Parish, now near Mount Ida Road, up near Ronan Park. You know, the Mighty Midget Market was down the street. And that's where I had a spinner rack when I was a kid. And I could pay 4 bits for a DC comic book with Batman and Robin. Beat that, Ben Affleck. He's from Cambridge. We didn't even look at the show notes today. I know, Pika. You get mad at me when I do that. The show notes he works on. You know, he made a schedule. And just like the cover sheet here, you know what I mean? Just like, a lot of effort. There is a lot of effort trying to read your writing. It's true. Speaking of trying to read my own writing, one of the things, if you've been tuned into the show for a while, you know I love talking about the ages of comic books. We started the show with that, the golden age of DC Comics, 365 days, a page-a-day book where we would look at some comic book art of an antediluvian age. We'd read the blurb, and then we'd talk about comic books every day. And we did that for a whole year. But during that, I had to learn, I had to educate myself. And I'm using this show to, you know, as a great platform to organize those thoughts and to bring it home. And I loved it. And so I needed help because I really didn't have my head around Bronze and Copper Age. I know that I thought the Silver Age lasted a lot longer than it did. I was ignoring the Copper Age. I mean, I was completely oblivious of the Copper Age, as I was the Atom Age. And the Bronze Age it's the older I get, the more I see, like, oh yeah, of course, the Bronze Age needs to be the Bronze Age. It makes complete sense now, I guess. I don't have that with the end of the Copper Age, because at the end of the Copper Age, in 1993, begins the modern age of comics that we're still in, that's been going on for 30 years. And that's according to the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide, this industry standard. This is how your comic book shop's long boxes are going to be organized. So what if I don't care for the the about like the Copper Age's 1984 to 1993 era status. It's an industry standard. That's how everyone speaks. I better, come to terms with it. And because we're getting into this is like I said, this is my blog notes. This is Pika's notes from 1992. No, from 2004, and this is what I would have written on my blog. And my reference for this comes from Flash, Volume 2, number 134, pages 9 and 10, published date February of 1998. And this was a jam by Grant Morrison and Mark Miller. And it was around the Mark Waid age. And so now we have Speed Force, and now we have Linda and Wally as a couple. And now we have, but Grant Morrison and Mark Miller did a really good Wally West run called Emergency Stop, where he almost changed the uniform. I think that's where Grant Morrison got to play with the powers a bit, and Wally can now manifest his outfit out of Speed Force energy. That's why he doesn't have to have... That's why he doesn't have to have his costume hidden in his ring to assemble at super speed. Dude, we're geeks here, huh? But yeah, this is something I called Winding Julie's Wristwatch. Crisis to Crisis. And because I'm a big fan of the DC Crisis. This is what started the DC Crisis long bucks. Almost 20 years ago. These scribblings, and that's manifested into this wonderful work of personal curation of the DC multiverse universe crisis story cycle. God, I love comic books. Okay, but before we go anywhere, I want to talk about Julius Schwartz. Who is Julius Schwartz, and why is he so important to me? And he had passed away earlier that year in February of 2004. And so I'm writing maybe this is my little personal love letter to Julius Schwartz later that year. Julie Schwartz was born in June of 1915. And he passed away in February 8th of 2004. Hi, Burb. I hope that doesn't sound too annoying. I'll close the window, you know what I mean, if it gets too much. But I like nature, and I like the open window, and I like if it's a nice day. Blessings. It's a sunny day. We're having coffee together. We're talking about comic books. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. Literally. There's a huge sunbeam over there bleaching out my corner. You could put a blackboard over there. Yeah, what is this? Friggin' Star Trek The Next Generation? There's an angry bird who has just chosen to be our enemy. I think it's your fault, Pika. I swear you're picking fights with your neighbors. Don't do it. Julie Schwartz was an American comic book editor and a science fiction agent and prominent fan. He was born in the Bronx, New York. He is best known as a longtime editor at DC Comics, where at various times he was primary editor over the company's flagship superheroes, Batman and Superman. So Julius Schwartz is the person that he's kind of like DC Comics version of Stan Lee, and how Stan Lee made the Silver Age happen at Marvel. Julius Schwartz was the one that dusted off all the old properties and gave new assignments to the writers, being like, hey, do something with Flash, do something with Green Lantern, do something with Atom, and but let's more. His early life, we are reading this, you guessed it, from the wiki. Born on June 19th, 1915, to Romanian Jewish parents, Joseph and Bertha, who emigrated from a small town outside of Bucharest, Romania. Julius and his parents resided at 817 Caldwell Avenue in the Bronx. He graduated at age 17 from Theodore Roosevelt High School in the Bronx. He would have? Would it have been Theodore Roosevelt High School? It was originally Roosevelt High School. Yeah. Why yeah, it would be. Yeah, Theodore Roosevelt would be. Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm just thinking. Yeah, time. Yeah. Let's see. In 1956, okay, in 1932, Schwartz co-published Time Traveler, one of the first science fiction fanzines. Schwartz and Mort Weisinger, founded Solar Sail Service Literary Agency, where Schwartz represented writers such as Alfred Bester, Stanley Weinbaum, Robert Bloch, Ray Bradbury, and H.P. Lovecraft, including some of Bradbury's first published work and Lovecraft's last. See, that's interesting, isn't that? I think that's cool. Schwartz helped organize the first World Science Fiction Convention in 1939. Thank you, Julie Schwartz. Seriously. In 1944, while looking for work, he was encouraged by his client, Alfred Bester, who was writing Green Lantern at the time, to apply as an editor at All American Publications, the subsidiary of DC Comics. All American Publications was one of two American comic book companies that merged to form the modern-day DC comic books. The superheroes created for All American include the original Atom, the Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, and Wonder Woman. Remember, National Publications that had Action Comics, Detective Comics, Superman, Batman, and their own stable of comic books. All American Publications was a sister kind of enterprise, and then they dovetailed and ultimately became DC Comics, and became DC Comics for good in 1977 in a rebrand. I love talking about comic books. I learned so much about this. In 1956, after the formation of the Comics Code Authority seal of approval, Julie Schwartz worked along with writer Robert Knighter and artist Carmen Infantino and Joe Kubert on the company's first attempt at reviving superheroes, an updated version of The Flash that would appear in Showcase number 4, October of 1956. The eventual success of new science fiction-oriented Flash heralded the wholesale return of superheroes and the beginning of fans and historians call the Silver Age of comic books. So Schwartz worked with John Broome, Gardner Fox, revived Green Lantern in Showcase 22, October of 1959, revived Hawkman as this Thanagarian, policeman, and Brave and the Bold number 34 of March 1961, and then Ray Palmer, the Atom, in Showcase 34 of September-October of 1961, the shape-shifting Atom, Dr. Ray Palmer, the science hero, not to be confused with Al Pratt, the diminutive powerhouse known as the Mighty Atom of the Justice Society of America in the Golden Age. And Schwartz first thought of the concept of the Justice League of America as an updating of the Justice Society, and that team debuted in The Brave and the Bold number 28, February-March of 1960. Yes, little Burb. Thank you, Burb. Yeah, and just Julie Schwartz is one of my heroes, right? I mean, if it wasn't for Julie Schwartz, there would be no Super Friends. Stuff like that, So I called it, this was a blog I was writing called Crisis to Crisis, Winding Julie's Wristwatch. So I've always been making content like this, but back then it was a blog. And my reference was, Flash 134, pages 9 and 10, written, published in February of 1998. Grant Morrison, Mark Miller. Lunch, heroes, incognito, in their secret identities, having lunch together at and it was like at a Hard Rock Cafe or a Planet Hollywood type of nostalgia cafe with memorabilia on the walls and just like a hamburger joint kind of thing. Okay, it's lunch with Jay Garrick, Dick Grayson, and Wally West, and their conversation of the nature of people's needs and heroes. And Dick Grayson's funny. He comes in with like a fake mustache and some glasses, and Wally, of course, being his best friend, busts his balls and like, oh, of course, I didn't know that was you, kind of thing. And they have a nice laugh. But there you have two generations of heroes: the Golden Age and the teen sidekicks of the Silver Age that have grown up by then. Remember, there's like time has passed, and the teens that are now young adults. So Wally and Dick Grayson must be in their early 20s, say 20 years old, to be fair. They're not kids anymore. And but here's the rub, and because Grant Morrison and Mark Miller are comic book minds as well, and so back then I definitely didn't know about the Copper Age, and didn't really maybe even respect the Bronze Age. I mean, was the Bronze Age a term back then? When did the Bronze Age begin becoming a term too? When did that become part of the lexicon? I'd like to know. If you know, leave a comment in the comment section. But Dick Grayson says, how often do you think things change? And Jay Garrick said, the music industry every 11 years, politics 15, Wally, heroic ages? And Wally says 20 years according to Jones and Jacobs. The Golden Age ended in 1955. The Silver Age ended in 1975. And the Dark Age began in 1995. This New Age is too early to call. And but those aren't in quotes, so I think that could be my interpretation. And this New Age is like 95 to 15. So I was taking in consideration that kind of that Grant Morrison spin of ages last about 20 years. So for me, what I figured out that ages last about 15 years or so. I mean, the Golden Age went from 1938 to 1955. You could add the Atom Age from 1945 to 1955. I think that's splitting hairs. I think that most people, comics-wise, pretty much feel that as well. It's an Overstreet thing in the glossary. It identifies Atom Age in the glossary. I mean, so it exists. People can and will use it. I mean, I've rarely ever seen it used. Right there, here you go. Comics published between 1946 and 1956. So that means the Golden Age only lasts 7 years. I think the Golden Age, it works better if it runs from 1938 to 1955. So that's about 17 years or so. Because that fits. Because if the Silver Age begins in 1956 and ends in 1970, that's 14 years, 14 to 15 years. If the Bronze Age starts in 1970 and ends about 1984, that's about 14, 15 years. So I think that the ages of comic books run 15 years. And I think that the Copper Age should have ran 15 years. I think that the end of the Copper Age should end at 2000. We should include the speculator bust, and then the resurgence of superhero stories with Wildstorm and Morrison's JLA and everything leading up to 2000. I firmly believe that there should be a clear dividing line at the 21st century, and we should be past some kind of 2000 or 2001 to 2015 or 16. That should be at its own age. My humble opinion, a millennial age, a millennium age. I feel we're in some kind of new undefined age right now that began in 2015, 2016, with all that happened culturally. And I think this will go on until 2030. And I think at 2030, then we're going to see the next narrative change, the next age of comics. We're going to have a complete separation from what we know now as big two superhero comic books and publishing, and we're going to enter something new. I think that's how I square it. I love talking about the ages of comic books. But this is the shape of space-time. Look, and that's Dr. John Highwater, and that's a quote from Animal Man. number 24, issue number 24, June of 1990. And that's Grant Morrison too. See, this is like I'm starting to fall in love with Grant Morrison's work here and how he, the wibbly, wimey, timey-wimey aspects of how he does the comic book timelines and how time works. It's not true, says the Silver Age Crime Syndicate of America power ring. And this, because this was 1990, and it's using Crisis-era stories. So it's trying to reconcile Crisis on Infinite Earths in 1990. That happened in 1985, 1986. There was a completely rebooted, new, solid one universe. Not a multiverse anymore, but a universe. So all of these... So Grant Morrison was having fun with that over on Animal Man. And he had a second Crisis story in him. And so it was called Limbo, where all the forgotten characters went. And that's Animal Man was now trapped in limbo. And so we're getting long in the tooth here. Oh, sorry. Let's continue this conversation tomorrow. We're going to do page 2 of this tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to talk more about comic books. Thank you so very much for tuning in today. We've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. It's New Comic Book Day, so let us know in the comments section, what are you picking up this week? We will go over these new comics that I'm picking up today on Sunday. Sunday is new release review day, and thank you so very much. Please click on those notifications, ring that bell, subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. We are going to break our first 1,000 subscribers very soon. It could be you. You could be they. Thank you so very much for spending some time, spending your coffee break with us, talking about comic books just for a few minutes in a day, taking our minds off our minds. And I hope that you are running your problems and not having your problems run you. I hope that you are running your challenges. I hope you are running your mood. I hope that you're running your anger and your hunger. And they're not running you. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. We will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Ciao. Bye-bye.